I don't forget something. It popped into my head, so I want to make sure that. Turn to Mark chapter 15. We have been traversing through the book of Mark at a great clip, and you have been so kind to do these humongous chunks of overview with me, and I appreciate it so much. It's hard to teach the word in large chunks because you have to just kind of fly over at 50,000 feet and hope you can collect something that is of value. In your small groups, of course, you're doing all of the fun stuff. You're getting into the individual words and meanings and the tough issues. And as I come up here every week, I'm always listening to the back conversations. You know, like, that was really a great discussion about, and my heart just cringes because I wish I could get into all of those things with you. But I just have to hit the highlights. And that's what we're going to do today as we end in Mark 15 and 16. And thanks for letting me come back and do the Transfiguration. I missed doing that because of vertigo, and I was sick for so long, and now I'm almost completely better. And so I get to do the Transfiguration. So we're going to go back to Mark chapter 9 and 10 and talk about the Transfiguration next week. So I'm looking forward to that with you. We are in the Passion Week, if you remember. The last two messages have been about the Passion Week, and this is the end of Jesus' Passion Week. The Passion being his agony from the Palm Sunday when he comes in to Jerusalem and everyone hails him as king, and then the following Sunday when he is resurrected. And so this is called the Passion Week, and we are now entering the end of that Passion Week. So you'll see on your note sheet the conclusion of Passion Week. We talked last week about the last days and then the last days of Jesus' life. So starting from chapter 14 all the way through 16, we're getting the last days of Jesus' actual earthly life. What I want to talk about today are two things. I want to learn a few things from the trials of Jesus. Now, Mark only mentions two of the three trials. He was before Caiaphas the high priest. He was also before Pilate, the judicial Roman governor of this area. He also went to Herod for a brief moment. And so he actually had three trials. Mark only mentions two, I believe, so you're not getting the full picture in the book of Mark, but we are getting some hint of some of the trials that Jesus went through. So we want to pick out a few things we can learn generally about trials in our lives from the fact that Jesus went through these trials. So we'll do that first. And then, that was on Friday. Those trials preceded his crucifixion and his death. And then the second part, I want to talk about the gospel, because we're heading into the holidays, and holidays are prime time to be with your family. And it's a prime time for you to start getting ready to get over your fear of sharing your faith with your family. That's always fun to think about. The Thanksgiving dinner table and the argument with Uncle Fred about religion. Yeah, that's great. But let's just talk a little bit as we end today about the gospel, because this gospel of Mark ends really with the content of what the gospel is, and to encourage your heart as you and I think about how do we share our faith boldly, and how do we do it in such a way that is not creating dissension, but creates decision. Those are two very different things. We don't want to shy away from creating opportunities for people to make decisions, but we do want to avoid people making divisions among one another. The cross, however, is a dividing line, so it just generally does that anyway. So let's talk about trials. We're going to work through Mark 14 at the end, verse 53, all the way to 15:20, where Jesus is tried before Caiaphas, who is, the religious. He typifies the religious leaders. If you saw the movie The Passion, you will see this trial depicted, where Caiaphas the high priest and Jesus is brought in before him. You'll also see him before Herod, and you'll also see him before Pilate. So if you want to get a visual on this, you need to watch the Passion movie, and it'll kind of show you the distinctives of the dress and how all this came down. But I lifted out four things about trials that I think we can learn from the trials that Jesus underwent, and let's see if we can learn some of these things for ourselves and apply them. The first thing we learn, trials are common to all people. Jesus now went through these judicial trials, and these are also prophecy-fulfilling moments. So as Jesus is rounding out his life and coming to the conclusion, there are specific things said in the Old Testament that these trials are going to fulfill. But trials happen to all of us. Maybe we won't be brought before judges or religious leaders or judicial people. Maybe the worst thing you'll do is get a speeding ticket, I don't know, and you're trying to exit the parking lot from picking up your kids. But trials are common to every person who names the name of Christ. Now, there's trials and there's temptations. So it's good to know the difference between those. Trials are sent by the Lord. Trials are ways in which we're filtered and refined, and God's intention in any kind of trial is to bring us towards God, to refine us and to bring us towards Him. In any trial or temptation that comes into our lives, Satan has another intention. And his intention is to tempt us, to lure us, to pull us away from God, and to send us to destruction. So if you can imagine a crossroads whenever a trial comes into your life, and now we know that trials are common to all people. So everyone is either in a trial, just finished a trial, or you're about to enter a trial. All right? So we can do a little vote. How many people are in a trial right now? All right. How many people have just finished a big trial? Okay. How many people are going to be in a trial soon? You can all raise your hands because there you go. We're all going to be there. So the Bible talks about trials being Father-filtered. We have to have a view of God that is big enough to embrace a God that allows trials into our lives. We know this just from being a parent, that you have to let your kids go through hard things. They have to learn. Are your kids the ones that have to learn the hard way? Yeah, Mary Foster's going, what? That's so true. Kids have to learn the hard way. You can tell your kids up and down, this is what you should and shouldn't do. You train them, you do everything, you're the focus on the family, you know what? And sooner or later, your child is going to have to learn the hard way with their own choices. Now, God is a father, and He gives us His instruction in the book. But you know what? We learn sometimes, most of the time, I learn the hard way through my failures. That's just how it happens. And so God, in any situation, allows trials into our lives. He also allows us to be tempted. Now, we don't have to fall to temptation. Remember, temptation is not necessarily sin. When you fall to temptation and give into it and let that take you, then it becomes sin. But being tempted is not sin. We know that Jesus was at all points tempted like we are, yet He did not sin. So temptation is not synonymous to sin. We can overcome temptation. We can turn away from temptation. So here you are at this crossroads. God allows a temptation or a trial to come into your life. God's intention is to, the word in the Greek is dokimos, which means to approve, to show you as a genuine article. That's God's intention, to show you as genuine. In that same trial, Satan has another intention. It's called pyrosmos, and that is to tempt, to lure, and to take you away, to take you down. So when a trial comes into your life, it's like you're standing at the crossroads, and you get to decide, which voice am I going to listen to? Am I going to let the pyrosmos voice take me down this wrong road and take me away from God and take me down? Or am I going to listen to the dokimos voice and move forward in genuineness and authenticity in my faith? So the intention in any given trial is different from the Father than it is from the enemy. People always say, is this from God? Yes. Is this from Satan? Yes. Don't waste your mileage on who it's from. Just respond to it in a godly way. That's why James chapter 1 says, welcome trials as friends. You know why you can welcome as friend? Because God has an intention in it that is for your good. It's to refine you. It's to build your faith. So that's why you can welcome a trial as a friend. Now, how many people actually do that? Trial knocks on your door. Welcome! Welcome into my life. Go ahead, try me. No. We usually don't do that. We moan and we gripe and complain, but God's intention is still the same. He wants to prove you to be the genuine article. He wants to refine your faith. He wants to purify you so that you will be stronger in Him in faith, exercising your faith muscles so that as you grow in your Christian life, you will become more and more dependent upon Him, trusting in Him, and your faith will be strong. Turn to 1 Corinthians 10:13, and I will show you a verse that talks about trials and tribulations, testings being common to all people.